What is up, everybody? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, September 17th, 2019. I hope you're doing well. If you're a replay viewer, hit the timestamp, go right to the technical analysis part of this video. You can skip the intro. First off, I want to wait for at least somebody to get here to tell me if my audio is working, simply because this is something I've had trouble in the past with. So if you're here right now, please let me know if you can hear me. Okay, P-Man, thank you. Can hear me. I'm going to get started. I don't have a lot of time. This is my quickest way to do a video right now. So wanted just to go over Litecoin. And I guess the biggest thing that I want to talk about is this. Before I jump into the charts, I just want to say Litecoin has, we're around $75 right now. If you're watching this video, it might be more, it might be less. I don't know. Right now, around $75. We've broken through a very key area for the short term. But, and I don't mean to say this in a bearish way or anything, but moves like this can be a continuation to a further lower low, right? This could be a continued downtrend, even when you get a nice little swing high. So that's the first thing that we need to really kind of analyze in terms of discussing what Litecoin is doing. So let's jump into the charts and let's look at it. And before we do, I want to start with this tweet. When was this? This was this morning, 11:49. Litecoin approaching 50 moving average, the blue line on the daily chart. Resistance here will tell the story of continued downtrend to lower low and a falling wedge. Alternatively, a break and support above the 50 moving average gives a bullish target above $100. This is like my technical analysis for Twitter. I'm just using my iPhone and doing a screen record, but we can look at what that looks like on the daily. And I'll zoom in real quick on the daily chart. There is the blue line, the 50 moving average. You can see we've wicked above it on the daily, but Litecoin short-term resistance as of now. Maybe we'll get a continuation in this upward trend and we'll break above it. But as of right now, risky business for Litecoin, because that 50 moving average historically for Bitcoin, for Litecoin is my favorite indicator. It tells the story of what is going on. It tells the story of continued trend or trend reversal. It's literally the biggest thing I wanted to talk about in this video is that 50 moving average is something we have to keep an eye on. I do want to start real quick on the 50 week moving average on the weekly. I just want to point this out. We've talked about it even when we're approaching that $140 range, coming back down, testing the 50 week moving average. Some people thought I was crazy to talk about that. Well, we've come back and we've tested it appropriately. We've seen support above it for the last month or so. It's awesome to see. It's healthy for Litecoin. So that is the bigger picture. Please stay focused on that if you're watching Litecoin. We could get some sideways action for a while at this 50 week moving average. Right? We can see some volatility as we try and consolidate $70, $80, $60 in the 50s. Just that range, consolidating around the 50 week moving average. And it's extremely important because that's the patience part of the story. So going back to the daily chart, besides the 50-day moving average, what I want to talk about is this. We have this pattern, this falling wedge that we've been tracking on Litecoin, right? So are we going to get a resistance here? Is this going to be a lower high? Is Litecoin going to see resistance at the 50-day moving average for a trend back down into the 50s? Potentially. It's the biggest thing to keep an eye out right now for Litecoin. So please be patient in waiting for that. We haven't broken the 50-day moving average and we haven't stayed above it. And if I could liken it to any time, I'm getting just this nostalgic feeling of back in November 2018, hoping that Litecoin was making a bottom in the 40s, the 50s. It didn't. We were tracking a pattern below the 50-day moving average, right? We got this continued resistance, hoping to break above it, similar to what we're doing now. In a pattern, right? This was a descending triangle, and very close to the apex of that triangle, we got that resistance at the 50-day moving average, and we broke downward, right? So, now we're in a potentially different cycle of Litecoin, hopefully an upward part of the cycle. And so, Mike said, Dan's talking faster and breathing heavier than normal. You can tell he thinks it's alt season. I am breathing. I'm like rushing through this video because I do not have a lot of time. I should take a deep breath. Okay. Thanks, Mike. You reeled me back in. You reeled me back into earth. Let me chill out for a second. 50 moving average right here. Lower low. What's up, Poseidon Lou? Lower low is the biggest thing that is in play. But in terms of this pattern that is similar to that pattern back in November 2018, we have this pattern in 2019, September, hopefully marking a continued uptrend, right? As opposed to a continued downtrend that we had last year. So with that being said, there's no technical analyst that can tell you what Litecoin is going to do right now. But finally, Litecoin is in a position where it's going to offer you some solid clues. And right now, the biggest clue that is showing on Litecoin is the 50-day moving average resistance. If we get a break above the 50-day moving average, and more importantly, daily closes, right? So daily closes above the 50-day moving average, then we get that trend reversal. The 50-day moving average, you'll start seeing it go back up. Not immediately, but hopefully if we get those higher highs and higher lows, the 50-day moving average will cross back above the 200 moving average, right? And that's what a consolidation phase looks like. It's way different than what you get in a bear market or entering a bear market where you just get this cross below the 200 and then just tanking down. So keep an eye out on that. Poseidon Lou says he's not excited. What's up, Clint Westwood? Man, I am out of breath. Whew. I'm not used to talking so fast. I do want to point this out too. LTC, BTC, Litecoin showing inverse head and shoulders, bullish pattern on the LTC, BTC pair with upward sloping neckline, which is bullish. Right now, LTC is around 2% away from testing the neckline. This was 2 days ago, right? You can see we're at the 200 moving average right here on the daily chart. Let's go over to that chart. No, hold on a second. LTC, BTC. This was the 4-hour chart. Let me go over there. Okay. So since we were on the 200 moving average on the LTC BTC pair on the 4-hour chart, you can see we're getting the all-important, potentially, 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. It's that first step where we might start seeing a transfer of strength to the daily chart, right? We need that 50 moving average to cross above the 200 moving average on the 4-hour, right? So here we are. Since I tweeted that, Litecoin almost up 10%. And then going over to the more important chart, which is the daily chart, you can see different than USD chart, LTC, BTC, Litecoin currently trading above the daily 50 moving average. So that's incredibly important to take note of that because the LTC, BTC pair is at this extreme point of a swing low, right? We didn't get this inverse head and shoulders that we were hoping for. Litecoin has come down quite a lot since that potential right shoulder set up. And since we've come down, we've really tested a previous swing low that we had back in December 2017, actually right before Litecoin kind of went crazy to the upside. Many people remember that. So I don't want to see Litecoin go any lower than this. It really is perfect timing for Litecoin to have a reversal on this LTC BTC pair. And on the weekly chart, it looks strong, right? So the last few weeks, we see this swing low that we had a few weeks ago, beginning of September, a couple weeks ago. And Litecoin kind of setting up, looking pretty strong on this pair. So it's something to keep an eye on. If we look at the momentum oscillator, the RSI, then we can see the all-important Litecoin on the stock RSI, actually, quicker moving momentum oscillator, coming out of that oversold area, almost in that oversold area in the RSI. So setting up nicely in the long term. I don't trade LTC BTC pair. I accumulate both. That's what I do. if you do trade, if you do go back and forth, I mean, LTC, BTC, just there's always risk. There's just less risk right now. You don't want to accumulate. You don't want to go from BTC to LTC when, you know, on this chart, LTC is trading up here in the overbought on the momentum oscillators, or up here, stock RSI. So Litecoin looking strong with the LTC BTC pair. Those are my thoughts. Whew, that's the last time I do a video talking so fast. Oh man. I went to the gym today too. I mean, I'm in good shape. So how's everybody? I want to know this. So if we go to the LTC USD, I just want to get a feeling of what you all think. We have the 50 moving average. I want to say this, like, just because we're testing that area doesn't mean Litecoin has bottomed. So much can happen, right? It's kind of like a first test of the 50 moving average since back in like June, right? And we get a sense of what it looks like, a swing low of Litecoin going back to that 50 moving average right here, right? That wasn't the end of Litecoin. Litecoin didn't immediately break that and just kind of go, you know, see parabolic gains. It actually came back down. It tested the 50 moving average. It took, you know, weeks of patience to see how it played out. And I feel like it will be something similar now, whether we just kind of trade around it for a couple of days. Maybe we'll break through it. Maybe we'll see resistance up here around $87 at the 200 moving average, and then back down to the 50 moving average. Either way, it's going to take some consolidation, I think, to form this bottom that hopefully Litecoin might be forming, breaking out of this wedge. On the flip side, like I said, resistance at the 50 moving average and then back down. So my question to you is, do you think Litecoin has kind of made its low? It will not go any lower than those 60s. And if you do think this, if you're bullish, you think Litecoin's about to break through the 70s, the 80s, hit a target on this falling wedge to 100 plus, press 1 if you're bullish. That's all. Press 1 if you're bullish. Press 2 if you're not. Press 2 if you think we're actually going to see a lower low. If we're going to see resistance where we are right now, back down to the 50s. At the end of the day, here's the thing, like, anything can happen. There's nobody on YouTube, nobody anywhere that can tell you what is going to happen next, how this is going to play out. You can only have your two options. It's going to go up or down. The data gives us hints, right? Like, so in the immediate future, right now, on the short term, there's currently some short-term resistance at this 50 moving average on the daily chart. That's the biggest thing to be concerned about, or at least cautious of, because if we get that continued resistance, you know, then Litecoin, especially being we're overbought in the stock RSI, Litecoin might need some consolidation off of that 50 moving average back down. If we get a strong break through the 50 moving average, though, that's one of the most bullish things we can see, because that is the type of move that you see in a very bullish environment, right? And you can kind of see it back here when Litecoin consolidated after the last Litecoin halving. It had some strong bursts to the upside. Like, those are pretty strong gains. So I'm curious to see if we get an environment like that currently for Litecoin. So those are my thoughts. Romaine, thanks for the $1.99 super chats. Chad, the go-to guy for the charts. Thank you for that. I appreciate that super chat. $2 super chat. Appreciate you guys. Anybody here right now, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming by. Looks like we have more bullish than bearish. But hopefully, everybody's prepared. Either way, time will tell. Like I said, this is going to be a quick live stream. 15 minutes, I think that's good. I have to go get ready. Sarah's almost home. We have to leave. But you all rock. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hit that like button. I appreciate that. Hit that like button. I don't know if any of you guys noticed, people complaining about the wire back here. I'm going to fill that hole in. But I got rid of the wire for all you people out there giving me a hard time. So, all right. That's it, everybody. If you're here right now, you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts if you're a replay viewer and you're still actually here. What do you think Litecoin's going to do next? I would love to know. I always like getting sentiment and knowing what you all think. Appreciate you guys coming by today, and gals. I hope you have an awesome rest of the night. I will see you in the next video. God bless.